Deputy Speaker, there is one reason, and one reason only, that the government is trying to rush this legislation through this week and had to be wound back by this House. There's one reason that the government came here and put a motion on the notice paper to try and gag this debate until this House stood up to them. Adani. Adani, Adani, Adani. In their rush to build a coal mine, this government is prepared to ride roughshod over Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. And when it comes to making laws, this government rolls out the red carpet for multinational coal companies but slams the door on our first Australians. Everyone knows that this government is prepared to defy the science and defy the will of the people of this country who don't want public money going to prop up an uneconomic coal mine that is going to be a climate bomb. And so to avoid that scrutiny, the government comes in here and says we're going to rush legislation through, even if it means potentially taking away the rights of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians. And when you look at the approach the government has taken this morning, everything they've said this week during the closing the gap statements and at other times is just words. It's just words. It is outrageous that the government thought it was good enough to ask every member of parliament in this place to vote today on a bill that, as we've heard, deals with some incredibly complex matters and potentially takes away people's right to determine what happens on their land. Now, I was very pleased to support the opposition's motion to wind the government back. And I'm sure that that's part of the reason that the government has realised the error of their ways and is now saying that they're not going to rush it through. But the Labor opposition is playing ducks and drakes on this, because something has happened in the Senate today that betrays everything that Labor did in here this morning as just sound and fury. Sound and fury signifying nothing. Because what happened in the Senate today, and we've heard it from the Shadow Attorney-General, is that the government and the opposition have agreed to a quick and dirty inquiry into a fundamentally important piece of legislation. A quick and dirty inquiry that will allow this bill to be rushed through potentially on the next sitting day. The Senate's sitting today. When is it next sitting so that it could debate this legislation? On the 20th of March. So the government and Labor have agreed we'll give the Senate one sitting day to consider this. And we'll stitch it all up in between. We'll hope the inquiry comes down with a recommendation and then we'll push it through the Senate. 1 month, a few weeks, for an inquiry that affects the fundamental rights that people have to their land and their country. And we've heard from both the Labor opposition and the government about the complexities in negotiating this legislation in the first place. We know because the court case was brought that has led us to this position, we know that there are many differing voices within the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities that need to be heard. We know that whilst there might be some issues about the technical drafting of the law that might need to be addressed, and everyone, including the Greens, would look at that. What we also know is that something as important as dealing with native title should not be rushed through this parliament. Now,